The trouble with short form video is the seemingly random way that it's promoted. For example, most of my subscribers have probably never seen this clip, yet 400,000 people have seen me walk through a gate. Anyway, to remedy that, I've put together this huge collection of some of my video clips over the last year or so, just so that hopefully some subscribers can see them. Anyway, I've still got a cold, so I'm going to stop talking. See ya! This is what it looks like to boat without lights at night. And this is the surprisingly little visibility our headlight does give us. You can see, with a torch on the towpath, we can clearly see where we're going. But of course, on a boat in the middle of the canal, there's far less for the headlight to shine off. And the wider the canal, the less there is directly ahead to illuminate. So my advice is always, if you've got a beautiful sun up in a clear blue sky, make the most of it. And maybe even if it's a grey sky. A magical mist rises from the canal. Your neighbours pass by, probably not exactly sure where they'll sleep tonight themselves. And as the sun sets, your humble home stands as an island amongst nature. The roads to and from your home look like this. And this is the glacial pace of parallel parking in another world, it seems. These moments are just about possible in life still, and I'm glad for that. A Welsh winter wonderland. There is something fantastic about seeing these mountains with what I call the Goldilocks amount of snow, where it's just right for walking. I suppose it's almost more of a very, very hard frost with a sprinkling of snow rather than proper snowfall, because you want this sort of scenery, you want the snow to highlight and pick out the details of the environment, but you certainly don't want to end up wading waist deep through huge snowdrifts. So yeah, this was Aaron Fowthy in the winter, and it was fantastic. What is a dog's favourite part of a tree? I'm so sorry to say this. The bark. Oh. The single biggest thing that has improved my life is becoming totally accountable. When I completely own my failures, I'm far more likely to learn the lessons they hold, as well as far less likely to repeat them. On the flip side, I can also take complete ownership of my successes and try and learn those lessons and ensure they happen more often than the failures. Once you adopt this mindset, you may see just how easily the internet can offer up excuses for your own behaviour and make you feel like a victim of the consequences of your own actions.
Holy, look at that! Wow! And another!
What do you think about this? Believe it or not, this is actually a canal towpath and the water is just a few feet to the left hand side. I like to think it wasn't deliberately and intentionally left to grow this high, considering this is between the two tunnels at Chirk and during midsummer, so not a particularly lightly travelled place and time. Early one morning and a decade ago, I was stood at the top of this very archway of Chirk Aqueduct. I probably looked a little rough because I'd just got out of bed. My boat was moored up only a few hundred feet to the left of here. I was possibly also wearing my slippers. There was a woman crossing the aqueduct, and as she drew closer, she must have taken in my dishevelled look, my leaning on the railings early in the morning, and possibly even my footwear, and come to her own conclusion over what my intention may have been. And in a voice that could melt me to a puddle right now, she simply said, "Is everything okay?" And I replied, probably to her shock, "Oh yeah, it's okay, I'm just checking the internet, I don't have signal beneath the trees." As she walked off, maybe she had a little smile to herself, but she could walk off knowing that she'd done the right thing in the circumstance. And it's something that a decade later I still think about. Autumn is well and truly back in control, and just look how beautiful it is. Although I'll be completely honest, I'm slightly worried that another year seems to have rapidly slipped away behind us, and if I'm be honest with myself, I don't think I've actually got anything to show for it. Anyway, if you are out on the canal, just wear appropriate footwear in this season. Look at this entire bee civilization that we found on a mountaintop. The thing that really amazes me is how little the sheep care, walking amongst thousands of bees. This would be a longer video, but we decided it was probably better not to hang around. This is 8 times faster than my boat was actually travelling, Boat life really is this slow, and that's why it's fantastic. In fact, you can see here in real time, it's barely distinguishable apart from the ripples on the water. If we go back up to 8 times speed, you'll see just how long it takes me to get around one busy corner in Ellesmere. With boats moored up on one side and an overgrown hedge, it's definitely single file. Now let's get through that bridge before someone else comes. Boat life's about patience. Countryside code fail. So let's go through this gate. Be responsible, turn around and shut it behind us. Oh, did I get that right on video? Let's give that another go. Hang on a second. Here's something slightly more interesting than I expected. An orange stream, which when I looked into it, not literally, it turns out it is just a rusty stream. I couldn't find the source of the iron oxide, but I knew that we were directly downstream from where they used to make Ruaben red brick, a famous building material. So when I researched that, I discovered that it was actually made from clay known as Etruria mal, known for its high iron content. So there's probably some still around up there. Let's take this boat through this lock. We're going to do this mainly as a time lapse so that we're not sat around here all day watching. So you'll firstly notice that I've had to raise the paddles on those gates before I could open them because the lock was actually full when I arrived, so I had to drain that water out to fetch it down to the level that the boat was at, otherwise it would have been a very tricky process. On the approach here in real time, you can see just how slow and careful we take it, and even here moving up to a time lapse, it still looks like a pretty slow process. Side note, look how leaky that front gate is. So once the boat's in the lock, I close those gates behind it, and then, because I'm doing this on my own, I slowly raise the paddles on the front of the lock to start allowing the water in slowly so that the boat isn't being jostled around too much. And then even opening the lock gate I had as a time lapse because that's such a glacial process itself. Yeah, what a beautiful place to be doing stuff like this. Okay, so this bothers me. I've always lived in beautiful rural places, yet whenever I live on a canal boat, people will start gushing and cooing about how incredible the rural environment is. Yet sometimes those same people would be living in my area, sometimes literally down the road from me. However, when I lived in the centre of a classic English town at the top of a beautiful old building, I could walk to places like this in about 10 minutes, including taking the stairs from the top floor. And yet, so many of these people who profess their great love of nature are never in it. This is an absolutely true, slightly humorous story. There's a football pitch below the aqueduct here, and about a decade ago when we'd had heavy snow, also in March, somebody had traced out in footsteps across the entire diagonal width of the pitch what I will describe as a large, rude male shape. And it is, I believe, to this day, the largest bit of immature graffiti I have ever seen. But I've never forgotten it. Things that I miss about boat life, part 1. The weather. This may surprise you because the weather's not always great, but seriously, look at the images on screen. From incredible snowfall to absolutely beautiful, burning hot summer's days. It's that incredible variety that makes it so fantastic to be out tootling around on a boat. Make sure you've got appropriate heating or cooling on board though. Hopefully I'll have a new boat soon.